John Wayne Gacy. The name sends shivers down the spine, a name forever etched in the annals of criminal history. He was a monster hiding in plain sight, a respected contractor, a friendly neighbor, even a clown for children's parties. But behind the mask, a darkness festered, a darkness that would claim the lives of 33 young men and boys. Gacy's crimes shocked the world. The sheer brutality, the cold-blooded calculation, the methodical way he lured his victims, it was almost too horrific to comprehend. How could someone so seemingly normal be capable of such evil? This essay isn't about glorifying Gacy. It's about giving a voice to those he silenced. It's about remembering the victims, their lives cut tragically short. It's about understanding the impact of his crimes, not just on the families directly affected, but on society as a whole. Join me as we delve into the dark world of John Wayne Gacy, exploring the stories of his victims and the devastating legacy he left behind. John Wayne Gacy was a master manipulator. He crafted a facade of normalcy, immersing himself in his community. He was a successful contractor, known for his work ethic and reliability. He was active in local politics, even meeting First Lady Rosalind Carter. He entertained children as Pogo the Clown at charity events and hospitals. Gacy used this carefully constructed persona to gain trust. He targeted young boys, often troubled or runaways, offering them work, money, or a place to stay. He preyed on their vulnerability, luring them back to his house of horrors on Somerdale Avenue. Behind closed doors, the charade dropped. The friendly neighbor, the successful businessman, the cheerful clown vanished. In their place, a predator, a monster who tortured, raped, and murdered, burying most of his victims in a makeshift crawl space beneath his house. The image of Gacy as Pogo the Clown, a twisted juxtaposition of joy and terror, became a chilling symbol of his crimes. It served as a stark reminder that evil can lurk beneath the most unassuming exteriors. Behind the staggering body count, behind the headlines and the court transcripts were 33 individuals. 33 sons, brothers, friends, each with their own story, their own dreams, their own lives tragically cut short. There was Timothy McCoy, just 15 years old, on his way home from a basketball game when Gacy offered him a ride. And John Szyc, a hard-working 19-year-old who took a construction job from Gacy, never to be seen alive again. These young men were more than just names on a list. They were individuals with families who loved them, friends who missed them, and futures stolen from them. Their stories deserve to be told, their memories honored. In the following sections, we will delve deeper into the lives of some of Gacy's victims, piecing together the fragments of their stories and shedding light on the human cost of his horrific crimes. At first, the disappearances were sporadic, almost unnoticed. A runaway here, a drifter there. But as the months turned into years, a chilling pattern began to emerge. The missing were all young men, mostly in their late teens or early 20s. Many were last seen in the vicinity of northwest Chicago, where Gacy lived and worked. Whispers turned to concerns to suspicions. Little did they know, their persistence would eventually unravel a nightmare far beyond their worst fears. Section 5, The Investigation, Unraveling the Horror. The break in the case came in December 1978 with the disappearance of 15-year-old Robert Piest. Unlike previous victims, Piest came from a stable family and had no reason to run away. He was last seen at his after-school job at a pharmacy, where Gacy had been seen talking to him earlier that day. This time the police took notice. Piest's family was well respected, and the circumstances surrounding his disappearance raised red flags. Investigators soon discovered Gacy had been a person of interest in a previous missing person case and had served time for sexually assaulting a teenage boy. A search warrant was obtained for Gacy's house on Somerdale Avenue. What they found would shock the nation. The stench of death permeated the air, emanating from a crawl space beneath the house. As investigators dug deeper, they unearthed a gruesome discovery: human remains. Section 6. The Crawl Space, Unveiling the Unthinkable. The discovery of the first body sent shockwaves through the investigation. It was just the beginning. Over the next several days, investigators worked tirelessly, carefully excavating the crawl space beneath Gacy's house. The grim tally continued to rise. 2 bodies, 5, 10, 20. The sheer number of victims was staggering. The crawl space, once an ordinary feature of a suburban home, was now a mass grave, a testament to the depravity of a serial killer. The identification process was painstaking and heartbreaking. Dental records, clothing, personal belongings, anything that could help give a name back to the victims. Families clung to hope, praying their loved one wasn't among the dead while dreading the confirmation they feared most. The nation watched in horror as the news unfolded. The image of the crawl space piled high with bodies became seared into the public consciousness, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. Section 7. Justice Served, the Trial and Conviction. John Wayne Gacy's trial began in February 1980. The world watched, captivated and horrified, as the details of his crimes unfolded in court. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence: the bodies found in the crawl space, witness testimonies, and Gacy's own contradictory statements. Gacy's defense team attempted to portray him as insane, but the jury was unconvinced. After a 6-week trial, Gacy was found guilty of 33 murders, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. He was sentenced to death. The guilty verdict brought a sense of relief, but not closure, to the families of the victims. Their loved ones were gone, their lives cut tragically short. The pain of their loss would continue long after the gavel fell. Gacy spent 14 years on death row, appealing his sentence and giving numerous interviews, often contradicting himself and showing no remorse for his crimes. He continued to paint himself as a victim, blaming his actions on an alternate personality. Section 8. Families Shattered, the Unending Grief. The impact of Gacy's crimes extended far beyond the victims themselves. Families were torn apart, forever haunted by the loss of their loved ones. Parents, siblings, friends, all left to grapple with the unimaginable pain of their sudden and violent deaths. Many families struggled to cope with the loss. The grief was compounded by the horrific nature of the crimes and the public spectacle surrounding the case. The constant media attention, the gruesome details, the never-ending reminders of their loved one's fate made it impossible to find peace. Some families found solace in supporting each other, sharing their grief and memories of the victims. Others turned to advocacy, working to improve laws and support services for families of homicide victims. The healing process was long and arduous, marked by anger, sadness, and a profound sense of loss. Even decades later, the scars of Gacy's crimes remained, a constant reminder of the devastating impact of violence and the importance of remembering those we've lost. Section 9. Remembering the victims, their lives mattered. In the aftermath of such horror, it's easy to get lost in the gruesome details, to focus on the killer and his motivations. But it's crucial to remember the victims, to honor their lives, their dreams, their legacies. These were not just names on a list, but sons, brothers, friends. They were individuals with their own unique stories, their own hopes and aspirations. They were loved, they were missed, and their lives were tragically cut short. We remember John Szyc, a talented artist who dreamed of opening his own shop, and Greg Godzik, a gifted athlete with a bright future ahead of him, and all the others whose stories may never be fully known, but whose lives mattered. By remembering the victims, by sharing their stories, we keep their memory alive. We honor their lives and acknowledge the devastating impact of violence. We vow to never forget, to learn from the past, and to work towards a future where such tragedies are never repeated. Section 10. The Legacy of Evil, Lessons from a Nightmare. John Wayne Gacy's crimes left an indelible mark on the world. They exposed the dark underbelly of suburbia, shattering the illusion of safety. They highlighted the vulnerability of young people, especially those on the margins. The case emphasized the importance of law enforcement taking missing person cases seriously. It led to improvements in police procedures and better communication between agencies. The Gacy case reminds us that evil can lurk anywhere, often hiding in plain sight. It's a reminder to be vigilant, trust our instincts, and speak out if something seems wrong.